Maze Runner: The Death Cure is the third and final Maze Runner movie. It's directed by Wes Ball, who has directed this entire series, and is based on the Death Cure novel written by James Dashner. Now, I'll admit that I have not read any of the books, but I have thought that although the movies aren't anywhere near perfect, there are some things to appreciate about them. They're very creative. This movie picks up right where the last film ended. The world is in turmoil because of a virus everyone calls the flare is spreading and turning whoever gets it into zombie-like creatures known as cranks. For a small portion of the movie, it reminded me of The Walking Dead, specifically when a group of characters are driving a vehicle with a bunch of these crank creatures all on top of it. I thought the makeup work on these cranks was really creepy, and so it does have a subtle horror element to it. A company known as Wicked is trying to find a cure for the flare by testing children who are not affected by the virus. Among all of these children is Mino, who is a friend of our main group of characters. This movie focuses on our main group of kids, who are referred to as the Gladers, attempting to break into Wicked's headquarters in order to rescue Minu and other captured children. The Gladers feel that it is unjust for these kids to be forced to go through such strenuous tests that have not proven to show any success in developing a cure. I'll say that overall, I have mixed feelings for these movies. It's for this particular film, it's unnecessarily long, and it does overstay its welcome. There were several times I was checking my watch to see how much time was left. The film is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and I think there are several small scenes from the first hour of the film that should have been cut or shortened. There's shots of the group traveling to Wicked's headquarters and conversations that could have been shorter or just cut completely in order to tighten the pacing and have the plot move forward at a more intriguing rate. Despite this, I can't deny that there were portions of the movie that I was intrigued and entertained by. The acting by the lead roles is really, really good, and they all do a fantastic job with what they're given. Thomas Brodie-Sangster is really great as Newt and has always been compelling in his role. Will Poulter's performances are strong as well, and if you're wondering if his character is back or if he's only in the movie through flashbacks, you'll need to watch the film to find out. I'm not going to spoil anything. And then, of course, Dylan O'Brien playing Thomas is great too. I've liked this guy's acting since Teen Wolf. I always thought he had stellar charisma and a likable quality to his character. And I do want to give him props for finishing this movie despite some severe injuries he went through during the filming process. Some of you may or may not know this, but this movie was scheduled for release nearly a year ago in February 2017, and it was pushed back to this month, January 2018, because of an accident that happened on set. Articles that I've read say that he got hit by a car, got a concussion and a facial fracture, which is just absolutely crazy. I can't imagine the pain he went through, and so I'm just very glad that he's safe and no fatal injuries occurred. So great job once again to Dylan O'Brien for finishing this film after severely being hurt. And the action scenes look really good too. I think one of my favorite shots is where there's a group of characters who jump off of a building and go into a swimming pool. And I love the way the camera just follows them from the top of the building down into the swimming pool. It concluded a prior tense moment quite nicely. Now, there are some predictable sequences. I'm not the best at predicting outcomes, but even I was able to guess correctly several times. This character is going to do this, and then X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And it unfolded exactly as I predicted. It didn't bother me too much, but it did take away from the suspense or just moments where they wanted me to be at the edge of my seat. And the beginning of this film was a little slow for me, but once we get into the third act, I was very entertained. Which is funny because with the first two films, I enjoyed them for the first hour. And then I thought they both lost their flair towards the ending. In this movie, the third act did have me in suspense. There's tense moments between several characters. I'm curious to see if and how our characters will break Mino out and what the final conclusion will be for the series. However, I don't know if anyone else felt this way, but the whole movie hinges on the fact that Minu is in danger, and the movie wants you to care about him. And I don't have anything against Minu, but I didn't necessarily care as much as I think the movie wanted me to. I did still find the mission somewhat interesting because I knew Thomas cares about Minu, and I did want to see Thomas succeed. There's also a new character named Lawrence who is played by Walton Goggins, who does some things that I won't spoil, but I didn't understand why he was doing those things. Book readers, maybe it's more apparent in the novel, but in this film, I wasn't sure why he decided to do what he did. Leave a comment if it made sense to you. And one other confusing thing is that there's something major that is discovered about Thomas that made me just think, how did they not realize that earlier? I felt like this one thing we find out should have been discovered a long time ago, before the events of even the first original Maze Runner movie. I'm going to let it go, but it did put question marks above my head. And some moments in this movie are emotional, especially if you really like certain characters. I wasn't in tears, but certain events caused me to feel a little sad. And I think if you're a Maze Runner fanatic who has read all the books, then you may feel more emotional over certain events, as I would think that the novel developed these characters more than the movies. And so you might care more about these things that happen to these characters more so than I did. Now, there's lots of implausible things that happen, and usually that doesn't bother me too much. If the premise and the performances are interesting enough, I won't mind implausible situations, but this movie just goes off the deep end with unrealistic things happening. There's one scene where a bus is hanging straight down vertically from a crane high up in the air. Well, the crane breaks and the bus drops, and there's this one character who tells everyone, hold on to something, and so everyone's holding on to something in the bus. Once they hit the ground, they should be dead as soon as the bus hits the ground. It honestly was extremely funny. I literally laughed out loud because I couldn't believe that they all reportedly survived this fall. Anyways, in conclusion, I'm just going to say that this is very similar to the previous movies. If you like the previous movies, you'll probably like this one too. They all feel the same. While I enjoyed some elements of it and thought it was very creative, I did think it was too long, had implausible and predictable events. I'm going to give Maze Runner: The Death Cure a B-. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not heard, YouTube is cutting monetization from channels with less than 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time on February 20th, 2018. So that means if I do not reach that amount, I'm no longer going to get paid from YouTube. So, that being said, if you enjoy these icy and chili reviews, it honestly mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family so we can try to get to 1,000 subscribers. Also, hit the bell button to get all push notifications for when I post videos. I love what I get to do, and to have YouTube compensate me for my hard work that goes into these videos has been really nice, as these videos take time to create, from movie watching, writing, filming, editing, creating graphics. I put a lot of hard work into these reviews, and so thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, subscribe for more Icy and Chili EskimoTV reviews.